The notification from my banking app made my stomach drop. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. I stared at my phone screen, my hand trembling as I logged in to check my savings account. Where there should have been 87,000, I saw just $2,341. My name is Jessica, and I'd spent the last 5 years living like a hermit to save that money. Every extra shift at the marketing firm, every freelance project, every holiday I didn't take, it all went into my startup fund. My dream of launching an AI-powered content creation platform that would revolutionize how small businesses handle their social media presence. This has to be a mistake, I muttered, dialing the bank's number. The representative's voice was sympathetic but firm. The withdrawals were authorized, Ms. Ward. They were made using your account credentials over the past week. My mind raced. I hadn't authorized any withdrawals. The only other person with access was... No, he wouldn't. I called Blair immediately. Something's happened to my money, I said, my voice cracking. Jess, slow down. What do you mean? My startup fund. It's gone, almost all of it. Gone? How? I think... I swallowed hard. I think Gideon took it. Blair's sharp intake of breath told me she was thinking the same thing I was. My brother had struck again. Your parents' golden boy? Are you sure? Who else could it be? He's the only one who knew my passwords. Remember when I got sick last year and he helped manage my bills? Call him right now. I hung up and dialed Gideon's number. He answered on the fourth ring, his voice casual. Hey, sis, what's up? Where's my money, Gideon? A pause. Oh, that. His tone shifted, becoming defensive. Look, I needed it for an emergency. My Porsche needed major repairs and... Your Porsche? My voice rose. You took my entire savings for your car? Not the entire savings. And Mum and Dad said it was okay. They agreed I needed reliable transportation for my new job. The room started spinning. Mum and Dad knew about this? They said you'd understand. You're always so good with money, and I really needed help. You know how important first impressions are in real estate. I ended the call without responding and drove straight to my parents' house. The familiar colonial-style home that usually felt welcoming now loomed like a courthouse where I was about to face trial. Mum opened the door before I could knock. Jessica, honey, what a nice surprise. Where's Dad? In his study. Is everything... I brushed past her and found Dad behind his desk, reading glasses perched on his nose. He looked up, smile fading when he saw my expression. Did you know? I demanded. Did you tell Gideon he could take my money? Mum appeared in the doorway. Jessica, please lower your voice. Your brother needed help, Dad said, removing his glasses. We discussed it as a family. As a family? I laughed bitterly. I wasn't part of that discussion. Sweetheart, Mum stepped forward. We knew you'd be upset, but Gideon's starting his career. He needs to project success. And what about my career? My dreams? That money was for my startup. Oh, that internet thing. Mum waved dismissively. Honey, you have a stable job. Gideon's trying to establish himself in real estate. He needs to look professional. So my 5 years of savings are worth less than his car repairs? Now, Jessica, Dad's voice took on that patronizing tone I'd heard my whole life. Family helps family. Your brother would do the same for you. I stood there looking at their familiar faces. Mum's carefully maintained appearance, Dad's distinguished grey hair, and suddenly saw strangers. These people weren't my supporters. They were Gideon's enablers. You're right, I said quietly. Family helps family. So, where were you when I worked 60-hour weeks to save that money? Where was Gideon when I needed help? That's different, Mum started, but I cut her off. No, it's not different. It's exactly the same. It's always been the same. I turned to leave, then stopped. Don't worry about paying me back. Consider it the last contribution I'll ever make to this family. Jessica, Mum called after me, but I was already walking out, my heels clicking against the hardwood floors like a judge's gavel. In my car, I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. My phone buzzed. A text from Blair. What happened? I typed back. They knew. They all knew, but they have no idea what's coming next. Because in that moment, sitting in my parents' driveway, I made a decision. I wouldn't just succeed despite them. I would succeed in a way that would make them realize exactly what they'd done. And I would make damn sure they'd never forget it. Blair's apartment became my sanctuary that evening. She poured me a generous glass of wine while I paced her living room, my shoes long discarded by the door. I can't believe they're acting like I'm the unreasonable one, I said, running my fingers through my hair. $87,000, Blair. Gone. For a car. Have you considered legal action? Blair asked, curled up on her couch. It's theft, plain and simple. With what money? I laughed bitterly. Besides, my passwords were saved on my laptop, the same laptop I let him use when he was helping me. My phone buzzed again, the 7th call from my mother in 2 hours. I declined it. You need to talk to them eventually, Blair said gently. Watch me not. I took a long sip of wine. You know what the worst part is? When I told them about my startup idea last Christmas, they laughed. Actually, laughed. Dad said I should focus on getting promoted at work instead of chasing internet dreams. Blair's response was interrupted by a knock at the door. Through the peephole, I saw Gideon's familiar face. Don't answer it, I whispered, but Blair was already opening the door. Hey, I knew I'd find her here, Gideon said, stepping inside uninvited. He looked exactly as he always did. Designer clothes, perfectly styled hair, and that smile that got him out of trouble our entire lives. Get out, I said. Come on, Jess, don't be dramatic. He spread his hands in what he probably thought was a peacekeeping gesture. Look, I'll pay you back. Once I start closing some deals. When? In 6 months? A year? Never? I stepped closer to him. You've never paid back anyone in your life. That's not fair, I'm good for it. Mum and Dad understand. Mum and Dad enable you. They always have. Remember when you crashed Dad's car in high school? Or when you dropped out of college and they paid your rent anyway? Or how about when you... At least I'm trying to make something of myself, he shot back. Not everyone can be perfect, Jessica. Always doing everything right. Always looking down on everyone else. Blair stepped between us. Gideon, I think you should leave. Fine. He reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope. Here. It's an invitation to my real estate firm's launch party next month. I was hoping you'd come, support your little brother. Maybe we could talk about this when you're calmer. I took the envelope and tore it in half. Support you? With what? The money you stole from me? His face reddened. I didn't steal anything. Mum and Dad approved. They're not the ones who worked overtime for 5 years, I was shouting now, tears burning in my eyes. They're not the ones who gave up vacations, who lived in a tiny studio apartment, who saved every penny. That was me, Gideon, me. You're just jealous because Mum and Dad understand that I have real potential. The sound of my hand connecting with his cheek echoed through Blair's apartment. We both stood there, shocked. I'd never hit anyone before. Get out, Blair said firmly, opening the door. Now. After he left, I collapsed onto Blair's couch, my hand still stinging. I shouldn't have done that. He deserved worse, Blair said, sitting beside me. She was quiet for a moment, then asked, So, what are you going to do now? I stared at the torn invitation on the floor. I'm going to launch my company anyway. How? I still have my pitch deck, my business plan, my prototype. I pulled out my phone and opened my calendar. There's a tech startup networking event next week. $20 entry fee. I have enough for that. Jess, no, listen. I've spent 5 years developing this platform. I know it works. I know it's valuable. I stood up, energy coursing through me. I just need one person to see what I see. One investor who understands the potential. Blair studied me for a long moment. This isn't just about the business anymore, is it? No, I admitted. It's about proving them wrong. All of them. My parents, who think I'm wasting my time. Gideon, who thinks he can take whatever he wants. Everyone who's ever looked at me and seen nothing but the responsible older sister who'll always be there to clean up their messes. Revenge is a dangerous motivation. It's not just revenge. I walked to Blair's window, looking out at the city lights. It's justice. It's standing up for myself. And maybe, just maybe, it's about showing them that their golden boy isn't the only one who can shine. Blair joined me at the window. Well, if you're going to this networking event, we need to get you a killer outfit. Something that says, I'm about to disrupt the tech industry and make my family eat their words. For the first time that day, I smiled. I like the sound of that. The networking event was held in one of those trendy co-working spaces downtown, all exposed brick and industrial lighting. I adjusted my blazer, borrowed from Blair, and tried to quiet the voice in my head telling me I didn't belong. Name tag! A cheerful volunteer held out a marker. I wrote Jessica in clear letters, adding AI Content Solutions underneath. Fake it till you make it, right? The room buzzed with conversation and clinking glasses. Groups had already formed, the usual startup scene clusters of hoodies and blazers, animated discussions about seed rounds and market penetration. I grabbed a sparkling water and found an empty high-top table. First time? A woman about my age appeared beside me, her name tag reading Gillian. That obvious? You have that, please, don't let me be the only one without funding look. She smiled. I had it last year. Now I'm here scouting for my VC firm. Before I could respond, a man in his mid-30s approached our table. His presence commanded attention without trying, subtle confidence rather than start-up bravado. Mind if I join? He asked, setting down his drink. His name tag read Deacon. Only if you're not here to pitch crypto, Gillian said with a laugh. God, no. I've had enough blockchain proposals to last a lifetime. He turned to me. What's your story, Jessica? This was my moment. I took a breath and launched into my elevator pitch. I've developed an AI-powered platform that revolutionizes how small businesses handle social media content creation. It analyzes their brand voice, customer engagement patterns, and market trends to generate authentic, targeted content strategies. Deacon's eyebrows raised slightly. Interesting. What's your current user base? We're pre-launch, I admitted, but the prototype has been tested with 15 local businesses, all reporting significant engagement increases and time savings. Show me, he said. I pulled out my phone, opened my prototype, and walked him through a demo. His questions were sharp, specific, about scalability, machine learning algorithms, market differentiation. Each answer I gave seemed to increase his interest. The real magic is in the natural language processing, I explained, showing him the back end. It doesn't just generate generic posts. It learns and adapts to each business's unique voice and customer interactions. And your competition? Existing solutions are either too expensive for small businesses or too automated to be authentic. We're hitting the sweet spot. Enterprise-level AI accessibility at small business prices. Gillian whistled. Damn, girl, you've done your homework. What's holding you back? Deacon asked. The question hit like a punch to the gut. I could lie, make up some technical challenges, but something in his direct gaze made me opt for honesty. Funding, I said. I had personal capital saved, but circumstances changed unexpectedly. How much do you need? 200,000 for initial launch and 6 months of runway. He pulled out a business card, sleek, minimal design with Deacon Wheeler Angel Investor embossed in silver. Send me your full pitch deck tonight. I want to see more. My hands trembled slightly as I took the card. Tonight? Problem. No, I'll have it to you within the hour. After he left, Gillian grabbed my arm. Do you know who that was? Deacon Wheeler backed 3 of last year's most successful tech startups. Really? He's known for spotting potential early, and he doesn't give out his card unless he's seriously interested. The rest of the event passed in a blur. I networked, exchanged cards, but my mind was focused on one thing. The moment I got home, I polished my pitch deck until my eyes burned, triple-checked every number, and hit send at 11:42 p.m. His response came at 7:03 a.m. Coffee? 9 a.m. at Riverside Cafe. I arrived 20 minutes early, ordered a cappuccino, and tried not to look like I was about to jump out of my skin. Deacon arrived exactly at 9, ordered an espresso, and sat down. I stayed up late reading your proposal, he said without preamble. It's solid, but I need to know something. Anything. Why this? What drives you? I thought about lying, about giving him some sanitized version about market opportunities and passion for AI. Instead, I told him the truth, about the years of saving, about Gideon, about my parents, about having everything taken away and deciding to build it back stronger. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Most people would have given up. I'm not most people. No, he said, pulling out his phone. You're not. That's why I'm going to invest. My heart stopped. What? 200,000, 15% equity. I'll have my lawyer draft the papers today. He looked up from his phone. But I want to be clear. This isn't about revenge. This is about building something valuable. Are you ready for that? I straightened in my chair, meeting his gaze. I'm ready for both. 2 weeks after signing the investment papers, I sat in my new office, a small but bright space in a downtown startup hub. My laptop displayed the first wire transfer from Deacon, $100,000, with the rest to follow in staged payments. Blair burst through the door carrying a bottle of champagne. Time to celebrate! It's 10 in the morning, I laughed. It's your first day as a real CEO. Morning rules don't apply. She started popping the cork. Besides, you need this after yesterday. Yesterday. Mum's latest voicemail still burned in my mind. Jessica, honey, we need to talk about Gideon. He's having trouble with his down payment for the real estate office. Your father and I are thinking of taking out a second mortgage. My phone buzzed. Deacon calling. Hold that cork, I told Blair. Meeting in 30 minutes, he said when I answered. Bringing someone you need to meet. The champagne would have to wait. I grabbed my laptop and presentation materials, then rushed to the coffee shop where Deacon liked to conduct informal meetings. He was already there with a woman I recognized from tech magazines. Maria Torres, founder of one of the largest digital marketing platforms in the country. Jessica? Deacon nodded. Meet your new mentor. Maria's handshake was firm. Deacon showed me your prototype. It's impressive. Rough around the edges, but the core concept is solid. We spent the next hour diving deep into the platform's architecture, Maria pointing out potential scaling issues I hadn't considered. Her insights were invaluable, but something felt off about Deacon's expression. What aren't you telling me? I asked when Maria left for another meeting. Deacon sighed. There's chatter in the investor community. Your brother's been making rounds at networking events, claiming he's involved in an AI startup. My coffee turned bitter in my mouth. What? He's suggesting he's the technical brain behind your operation. Says his sister is just the face of the company. That's ridiculous. He doesn't know the first thing about AI or programming. I know that, but perception matters in this industry. We need to address this before it gains traction. I pulled out my phone, ready to call Gideon, but Deacon grabbed my wrist. Not like that, he said. Smart, strategic. You're a CEO now. Act like one. Back at the office, Blair was waiting with the now warm champagne. One look at my face and she set it aside. What happened? I told her about Gideon's claims. She started pacing, her heels clicking against the floor. That entitled little... She stopped. Wait, your launch event next month. Isn't it the same week as his real estate office opening? Yeah, why? Because that's perfect. He wants to play in the startup world. Let him. Then we'll show everyone exactly who built what. My phone buzzed again, a text from Mum. Your brother really needs our help with his business. Please call me. I showed it to Blair, who snorted. Unbelievable! They're still at it. They always will be. I turned back to my laptop, pulling up the launch event details. But maybe that's okay. Maybe I needed this. Needed what? To stop hoping for their approval. To stop being the responsible daughter who always does the right thing. I started typing an email to Deacon. It's time to be the CEO who does the necessary thing. Blair read over my shoulder as I wrote, We need to move up the launch, and we need to make it big. Deacon's response came quickly. Risky. Platforms not fully polished. I wrote back, Neither was Facebook at launch. Neither was Twitter. What matters is being first and being bold. You sure about this? My fingers flew across the keyboard. Watch me. I spent the rest of the day calling developers, designers, and event planners. By evening, my whiteboard was covered in timelines and task lists. Blair ordered takeout and helped me strategize until midnight. As I was locking up the office, my phone buzzed one more time. A text from an unknown number. Hey, it's Gillian from the networking event. Heard what your brother's saying. Need any help shutting him down? I smiled, saving her number. Actually, yes. How would you like to help me plan a launch event? Girl, I thought you'd never ask. One condition. We make it impossible for anyone to ever question who the real founder is. Looking at my reflection in the dark office window, I saw something new in my eyes. Not just determination or anger, but a kind of dangerous clarity. Gideon wanted to take credit for my work? Fine. Let him dig his hole deeper. Because when I was done, there wouldn't be any doubt about who built this company. And my parents would finally have to face the truth about their golden boy. I texted Gillian back, Let's make it unforgettable. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of code sprints and investor meetings. Our office had transformed into a war room, with developers hunched over keyboards and empty coffee cups everywhere. The platform was coming together faster than I dared hope. You need to see this, Gillian said, barging into my office one afternoon. She thrust her phone at me, showing a social media post from my brother. Excited to announce my involvement in a revolutionary AI startup, Gideon's post read. Can't wait to show everyone what we've built. Tech, entrepreneur, AI, innovation. We? I scrolled through the comments. Several of his real estate connections had already congratulated him. It gets worse, Gillian swiped to another screen. He's been DMing potential investors, claiming he's the technical co-founder of your company. Before I could respond, Maria Torres walked in. She'd become a regular visitor, helping us refine our algorithms. Your brother's making waves, she said, sitting down. 3 investors called me today asking about him. What did you tell them? The truth, that I've spent weeks working with the actual founder and developer, and it's not him. She leaned forward. But, Jessica, you need to handle this. Now. The launch event might be too late. Tech communities run on reputation. Let this fester and it could poison everything you're building. My phone buzzed. A text from Mum. Having a small celebration for Gideon's new business ventures tonight. Please come. Family should support family. I showed the text to Gillian and Maria. Oh, that's rich, Gillian scoffed. Go, Maria said suddenly. What? Go to their dinner. Document everything. Record what he says about the company. She smiled grimly. Build your case. That evening, I walked into my parents' house for the first time since the confrontation. The dining room was decorated with balloons and a congratulations banner. Jessica! Mum rushed to hug me. I knew you'd come around. Gideon sat at the head of the table, holding court with some friends I didn't recognise. He faltered slightly when he saw me, but recovered quickly. Sis, perfect timing. I was just explaining our AI project to everyone. Your AI project? I kept my voice level, phone recording in my pocket. Well, you know, the technical architecture I developed. Jessica here is helping with the business side. Dad beamed. Always knew you two would work together eventually. Family business, just like I always wanted. Tell them about the neural networks you designed, I said sweetly to Gideon. The natural language processing algorithms, the machine learning models. I'm sure everyone would love to hear the technical details. His smile flickered. Oh, you know, it's all very complex. Try us, said one of his friends. I dabble in programming myself. Gideon's face reddened. It's proprietary information. Can't reveal too much before launch. Launch? I pulled out my phone, opening our company website. You mean this launch? The one announced yesterday? Mum tried to intervene. Jessica, honey, let your brother have his moment. No, I want to hear about his contribution. I turned to his friends. Did he tell you he stole my savings to fix his car? That he's never written a line of code in his life? That's not true. Gideon stood up. I've been working on this concept for months. Really? Then you won't mind explaining how the sentiment analysis module works? Or maybe walk us through the API architecture? The room fell silent. Gideon's friends looked uncomfortable. I think, one of them said slowly, I should go. Others followed, making awkward excuses. Soon it was just family left. How dare you embarrass your brother like this? Mum's voice shook with anger. Embarrass him. He's been lying to investors, claiming credit for my work. He's trying to build something for himself, Dad jumped in, by stealing my work, just like he stole my money. Gideon slammed his hand on the table. You think you're so perfect. You and your fancy startup. I could run that company better than you ever could. Prove it, I said quietly. Come to our launch event next week. Explain to everyone exactly what you contributed. I dare you. He went pale. I walked to the door, then turned back. Oh, and Gideon? I'd delete those social media posts if I were you. Fraud isn't a good look for a real estate agent. Outside, I sent the recording to Maria and Deacon, then called Blair. How'd it go? She asked. Exactly as expected. They'll never change. You okay? I looked back at the house where I'd grown up, where I'd always been second best. You know what? For the first time in my life, I really am. They can have their golden boy. I've got an empire to build. And a launch event to plan. Yes, I smiled, getting into my car. Let's make it spectacular. The day before the launch event, I stood in the hotel ballroom watching the setup crew transform the space. Sleek, digital displays showcased our platform's interface, while technicians tested the lighting and sound systems. The guest list hit 400 confirmations, Gillian said, checking her tablet, including 3 major tech publications and that podcast you like. Any word from Gideon? Nothing since he deleted his posts. But, she hesitated, but what? Your parents RSVP'd. I was saved from responding by a commotion at the entrance. A man in mechanic's coveralls stood arguing with security. I need to speak with Jessica, he insisted. It's important. I recognized him. Virgil, the mechanic who'd worked on Gideon's Porsche. Let him in, I called to security. Virgil approached, wringing his hands. I've been trying to reach you. About the car repairs. I really don't want to hear about my brother's car. No, you don't understand. He pulled out some paperwork. The repairs only cost $28,000, not $87,000. The room seemed to tilt. What? I thought you knew. I gave the invoice to Gideon months ago. Virgil looked miserable. When I heard what happened, I couldn't stay quiet. He used my invoice to justify taking more money, didn't he? Gillian stepped closer, her expression dangerous. Are you saying he stole even more than we thought? I'm saying I don't want to be part of this. Virgil handed me the invoice. I've known Gideon for years, but this isn't right. I'm sorry. After he left, Blair arrived to find me staring at the invoice. What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. Worse, I handed her the paper. Proof that my brother is an even bigger fraud than we thought. Use it, Blair said immediately. Add it to tomorrow's presentation. No. I straightened up, suddenly clear on what needed to happen. Get me Deacon on the phone. He answered on the first ring. Everything okay? Remember when you said this couldn't be about revenge? You were right, but it needs to be about truth. I outlined my plan. Risky, he said, but authentic. Do it. The rest of the day passed in a frenzy of preparation. By midnight, everything was ready. Blair forced me to go home and sleep. You need to be sharp tomorrow, she insisted. History-making requires a clear head. But at 3 a.m., a knock at my apartment door jolted me awake. Through the peephole, I saw my mother. Jessica, please, she called softly. We need to talk. Against my better judgment, I opened the door. She looked older than I remembered, worried lines creasing her face. Gideon's in trouble, she said without preamble. When isn't he? The real estate office. It's not happening. The loans fell through. He's desperate. And he's planning something for tomorrow. He won't tell me what, but he's been making calls, meeting with people. I'm worried he'll do something foolish. Like stealing from his sister? She flinched. I know we've enabled him, but he's still your brother. No, I said quietly. He's your son. Your problem, not mine. Please, just be gentle with him tomorrow. I thought about the invoice in my bag, about the years of lies and favoritism. I'll be exactly as gentle as he deserves. After she left, I called Gillian. Double the security for tomorrow, I told her, and make sure every moment is recorded. Already done, but there's something else you should see. She sent me a link to a private social media post from one of Gideon's friends. Big surprise planned for tomorrow's tech launch. Time to show everyone who's really boss. Perfect, I said. Perfect? He's planning to hijack your launch. No, he's planning to try. I smiled in the darkness of my apartment. And he's going to do it in front of hundreds of witnesses, multiple cameras, and the tech press. Oh, Gillian's voice turned appreciative. Oh, that is perfect. I spent the rest of the night reviewing my presentation, making sure every detail was in place. As the sun rose, I got ready with methodical precision. Hair, makeup, the new suit I'd bought for the occasion. My phone buzzed with a text from Deacon. Ready? I looked in the mirror, seeing not just my reflection, but every moment that had led to this day. The savings account notification, the family dinner, Virgil's invoice, all of it had brought me here. Ready, I texted back. Time to show everyone what truth looks like. The ballroom hummed with energy as tech industry players, investors, and media filled the seats. I stood backstage, watching on a monitor as Deacon took the podium for the introduction. "Where is he?" Blair whispered, scanning the crowd. "Back corner," Gillian pointed, "with 3 guys I don't recognise." I spotted Gideon, wearing an expensive suit and that familiar smirk. Our parents sat nearby, Mum fidgeting with her purse strap. "And now," Deacon's voice commanded attention, "please welcome the founder and CEO of AI Content Solutions, Jessica." The applause felt surreal as I walked onto the stage. Camera flashes sparked from the media section. "Thank you all for coming," I began, my voice steady. "Today, we're launching something that will revolutionize how small businesses connect with their customers." The presentation flowed smoothly. Demo videos, case studies, live platform demonstrations. The audience leaned forward during the AI demonstrations, phones recording every moment. Then, exactly as I'd anticipated, Gideon stood up. "Actually," his voice carried across the room, "I think there's something everyone should know." Security started moving, but I held up my hand. "No, let him speak. In fact, Gideon, why don't you come up here?" He seemed thrown off by the invitation, but recovered quickly, striding toward the stage with his characteristic confidence. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, taking the microphone I offered, "what my sister failed to mention is that this platform was actually developed through our partnership. The technical architecture is fascinating," I interrupted smoothly. "Why don't you explain it to everyone? The neural networks you designed, the machine learning algorithms, well, the technical details are confidential." "Nothing's confidential today," I said, clicking to the next slide. "In fact, let's look at the GitHub commits history." The screen filled with code repository data, showing years of my work. Every commit, every update, time-stamped and authenticated. "Interesting," I continued. "I don't see your name anywhere, but maybe you can explain this?" I switched to Virgil's invoice. "Or why you told our parents the repairs cost 3 times this amount." The colour drained from his face. In the audience, Mum stood up, Dad pulling her back down. "You're trying to embarrass me," Gideon hissed. "No, you did that yourself, by lying, by stealing, by trying to take credit for something you don't understand and didn't build." "I needed that money. You don't know what it's like always living in your shadow," the audience murmured. Cameras flashed faster. "My shadow?" I laughed. "Mum and Dad gave you everything. College tuition you wasted. Rent you never paid. Car payments you defaulted on. While I worked overtime, lived in a cramped studio, saved every penny to build this. You had it easy. Perfect, Jessica. Always so responsible. Easy?" I turned to the audience. "Let me tell you about easy. Easy is stealing your sister's life savings. Easy is lying to investors about being a tech founder when you can't write a single line of code. Easy is expecting others to clean up your messes." I clicked to the next slide, screenshots of his deleted social media posts claiming credit for my company. "But you know what's not easy? Building something real, something that works, something that helps people." I faced him directly. "You wanted the glory without the work, the success without the sacrifice. That ends today." Gideon lunged for the microphone, but security was faster. As they escorted him off stage, he shouted, "Mum, Dad, are you going to let her do this to me?" Our parents sat frozen, faces ashen, as their golden boy was led away. I turned back to the audience. "I apologise for that interruption, but actually, it's fitting, because this platform isn't just about AI or social media. It's about authenticity, about building real value, about doing the work." The room erupted in applause. In the front row, Maria Torres nodded approvingly. Deacon's smile was fierce with pride. "Now," I continued, "let me show you what we've actually built." The rest of the presentation was flawless. Afterward, investors crowded around, reporters requested interviews, and potential clients lined up to sign contracts. That was incredible, Blair hugged me. It was necessary, I said, watching my parents hurry out the door, likely chasing after Gideon. Gillian appeared with a glass of champagne. The tech blogs are already running with the story. AI startup launch exposes family drama, corporate fraud attempt. Let them, I said, taking the champagne. Everything's in the open now. No more lies. No more pretending. To truth, Blair raised her glass. To consequences, Gillian added. I looked around the room, at my team celebrating, at investors discussing terms, at reporters filing their stories. This was real success, built on real work. To both, I said, clinking my glass with theirs. And to whatever comes next. The morning after the launch, I arrived at the office early, expecting a quiet moment to process everything. Instead, I found Maria Torres waiting. Your story's trending, she said, holding up her phone. Tech justice is going viral. How bad is it? Bad for your brother. Great for you. The tech community loves a good comeuppance story, especially when it involves actual receipts. She smiled. And speaking of receipts, check your email. I opened my laptop to find dozens of partnership inquiries, including 3 from major tech companies. Before I could respond to any, my phone rang. Dad. I should take this, I told Maria. She squeezed my shoulder. Remember, you're negotiating from strength now. I answered on the 4th ring. Hello? Your brother's being investigated for fraud. Dad's voice was tight. The real estate board saw the videos from your launch. They're reviewing his license. That's not my problem. He's family. No, I cut him off. Family doesn't steal from family. Family doesn't lie and cheat and try to take credit for others' work. We're coming to the office. We need to discuss this as a family. Fine, but on my terms. They arrived an hour later. Mum looked like she'd been crying. Dad seemed older somehow. I met them in the conference room, Blair and Gillian flanking me like bodyguards. Where's Gideon? I asked. At home, Mum said. He's devastated. He's facing consequences. There's a difference. Dad leaned forward. What will it take to fix this? Fix what? His reputation? His career? Or just the family dynamic you two created by always putting him first? That's not fair, Mum protested. Really? I pulled out my phone, playing the recording from their house. Gideon's voice filled the room. I could run that company better than you ever could. He was upset. He was exposed, Blair interjected. There's a difference. What do you want? Dad asked again. I laid out 3 papers on the table. First, a formal statement from Gideon admitting he lied about his involvement in my company. Second, a repayment plan for the money he stole. All of it, not just the car repair amount. Third, you both stop enabling him. And if we refuse? Then I press charges for fraud. The evidence is pretty compelling. Mum started crying again. How can you be so cold? Cold? Gillian laughed. She's being generous. Most people would have had him arrested at the launch. A knock at the door interrupted us. Deacon entered with a man in a suit. Sorry to interrupt, he said, but Thomas here represents one of the largest social media management companies in the country. They'd like to discuss acquisition. We're in a family meeting, Dad started. No, I stood up. We're finishing a family meeting. The papers are on the table. Your choice. I walked out with Deacon and Thomas, leaving my parents staring at the documents. Blair texted me updates from the conference room. They're reading everything. Your mum's calling Gideon. They're signing. Later that afternoon, I received an email from Gideon with his signed confession attached. The repayment agreement followed. along with a short message. "I'm sorry, I mean it this time." "Do you believe him?" Blair asked, reading over my shoulder. "Doesn't matter. It's not about belief anymore. It's about actions and consequences." My phone buzzed with another message. From Virgil. "Saw the news. You did the right thing. Gideon came by to apologize for involving me in his lies. First time I've ever heard him say sorry. Maybe that was the real victory. Not just my success, but the possibility that Gideon might finally learn from his failures." The acquisition meeting with Thomas ran late into the evening. When everyone finally left, I stood at my office window, watching the city lights come on. "Hey!" Blair appeared with 2 coffee cups. "Thought you might need this." "Thanks." I took a sip. "You know what's weird? I don't feel vindicated or triumphant. I just feel free." "Free from what?" "From trying to be the perfect daughter. From cleaning up Gideon's messes. From needing their approval." Gillian burst in, waving her tablet. "You need to see these numbers. The platform's user sign-ups are exploding." I looked at the statistics, then at my reflection in the window. The woman staring back wasn't just a daughter or a sister anymore. She was a founder, a CEO, a force to be reckoned with. "Send me the acquisition terms again," I told Gillian. "I think we can negotiate for better." "That's my girl," Blair grinned. "Always building something bigger." "No," I corrected her. "Always building something real." Because, in the end, that's what mattered. Not the revenge or the family drama, but creating something authentic, something earned, something that was undeniably, irrefutably mine.